So moving from Europe to the United States across the Atlantic, where the Department of War, the Pentagon, has released a new national defense strategy marking a significant shift in America's defense and foreign policy priorities. It is fundamentally moving away from looking at China as a primary rival or a strategic competitor. In fact, the document emphasizes a much more conciliatory tone towards Beijing. It aims to de-escalate tensions with Beijing. It wants to establish strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific, not through dominating or trying to strangle China, but by having a stable peace, by managing China and China's sort of relative strength in the Indo-Pacific. Now, one of the key highlights of this new national defense strategy is the assertion that the number one priority for the United States is re-establishing American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere. What explains this shift? What does it mean for countries like India? India is not mentioned even once in the new NDS. Taiwan, again, is not mentioned even once in the new NDS. What does this mean for the balance of power here in Asia? The Pentagon has struck a conciliatory tone towards Beijing in its new national defense strategy. For the first time, America has said it does not see China as a primary rival. Instead, it says its overarching goal is to establish strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific and to de-escalate tensions with the Chinese military. The National Defense Strategy, which was issued Friday night, comes even as U.S. President Donald Trump is preparing for an expected summit meeting in April with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Ahead of that proposed summit, the White House has also sought to lower tensions over Taiwan. The Pentagon document also underscores that the number one priority right now is American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere. It also signals that the Trump administration's longer-term goal is to reduce its military role in Europe, in the Indo-Pacific, and in the Middle East. As U.S. forces focus on the homeland and its defense and the Indo-Pacific, our allies and partners elsewhere will take primary responsibility for their own defense, but with critical and more limited support from American forces, unquote. Now, this particular passage from the National Defense Strategy places the onus squarely on America's partners, whether it's Japan, India, South Korea, to take primary responsibility of their differences with China and to manage the security threats that emanate from Beijing.
I've always had a very good relationship with President Xi of China. He's an incredible man. What he's done is amazing. He's highly respected by everybody.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
But here's the deal. The Pentagon strategy issued in 2018 during Trump's first term in the White House described China much more harshly. It cast China then as a revisionist power, which along with Russia seeks to veto the entire world order. In contrast, this year's National Defense Strategy, the document basically underscores the Trump administration's interest in opening more military-to-military communications with the Chinese. They also want to reduce tensions in a bid to establish a balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. The goal would be to establish a decent peace on terms that are favorable to America, but also one that China can accept. The document, which was reviewed by the White House, was released a day after Trump praised Xi Jinping for helping negotiate a deal to enable TikTok to keep operating in America. The document comes in the midst of a general dialing down of tensions between Washington and Beijing ahead of this summit meeting between the two leaders. China and America are yet to clinch a trade deal. Ahead of their previous meeting back in October in Busan in South Korea, Trump had described the relationship as a G2, or an exclusive club of superpowers. The National Defense Strategy is issued every 4 years and is a guiding document that will basically underpin the decisions on when and where to deploy forces or when and where to use new weapons. Many of the themes of the National Defense Strategy were spelled out earlier in December when the White House released the National Security Strategy. That NSS document had sharply criticized European leaders. It had underscored Trump's focus on the Western Hemisphere. The Pentagon strategy does not mention Taiwan even once by name. China claims Taiwan as its own territory. But the document also says that the U.S. military will erect a strong denial defense along the first island chain. The first island chain are a group or a string of islands which includes Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippines. Trump has not explicitly said whether he would use force to defend Taiwan. But the Trump administration has recently approved an $11 billion arms package for Taiwan, and much of the Pentagon's spending has been portrayed as an effort to get Beijing to back off from attacking Taiwan.
China's sweeping territorial and maritime claims in the South China Sea fly in the face of their commitments to resolve disputes peacefully. And I will say I welcome the dialogue. Obviously, both our president, President Trump, and Chairman Xi have had, both myself and Zhang Jun, here. The opportunity to talk is something we value. We will continue. Dialogue is important. But inside that dialogue, we are most importantly watching actions very closely. We seek peace. We do not seek conflict. But we must ensure that China is not seeking to dominate you or anybody else.
In recent military drills near Taiwan, the Chinese military rehearsed a potential quarantine of the island. Beijing's forces have also carried out aggressive naval maneuvers both in the South and in the East China Seas. Back in December, Japan had accused Chinese fighter jets of carrying out highly provocative operations by training their fire-controlled radars on Japanese F-15s. The allegation was denied by Beijing. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi also got into a bit of a situation when she said that Japan would respond if China were to attack Taiwan. She later had to clarify those comments. Against the backdrop of such episodes, the Pentagon strategy is seeking to open a wider range of military-to-military communications with the People's Liberation Army of China. The aim is to avoid any inadvertent confrontations. Some experts say that the Pentagon's hope to draw the Chinese military into de-escalating tensions is unlikely to succeed because China wants America out of its sphere of influence. The U.S. has engaged in a flurry of military activity since Trump returned to the White House and has carried out attacks in Yemen, Iran, Venezuela, Syria, Somalia, and Nigeria. Trump has signaled that he's considering fresh action against Iran for violently suppressing protests there. He's already sending more American naval and air forces to the Middle East. The strategy document also lauds the ouster of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. It hails the June strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities, and it praises weeks of airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. Stunningly, the document also says that helping Ukraine is primarily the responsibility of European countries. It also casts Russia as a persistent but manageable threat to NATO's eastern flank. The era of American withdrawal has well and truly begun.